In a move that almost defies logic, Donald Trump has issued new defamatory claims against E. Jean Carroll, who just months ago already won one defamation case against him to the tune of $5 million for battery and defamation. Trump took to Truth Social, writing, "The DOJ will not defend me in the E. Jean Carroll civil case, which is all part of the political witch hunt, lawyered up by a political operative who I just beat in another case, financed by a big political funder, and judged by a Clinton appointee who truly hates Trump. The statements that I made about Carroll are all true. I didn't rape her. I won that at trial. And other than for this case, I have no idea who she is, what she looks like, or anything else about her. The net result of this horrible injustice, where a completely unknown to me woman made up a ridiculous story, wrote it in a public book to increase publicity and sales, I correctly disputed the story and got sued for defamation, whereupon a hostile judge and jury shockingly awarded a woman who I don't know, have never known, and don't want to know $5 million. We are strongly appealing this travesty of justice." And look, I'm certainly not Donald Trump's financial advisor, but when you've already been found liable for defamation once and your second defamation suit is pending, maybe, just maybe, try to avoid repeating the exact same claims that already cost you $5 million in a brand new raft of posts on the Truth Social. Just, for starters. Now, this new temper tantrum was set off by this week's newest development that the DOJ would not substitute itself in as the defendant in Trump's second defamation case against Carroll. When Bill Barr was Attorney General, he allowed the DOJ to do so under this baffling assertion that everything Trump did while in office was acting within the scope of his duties as president. Under Merrick Garland, the DOJ eventually reversed that decision because clearly defaming E. Jean Carroll was not within the scope of Donald Trump's presidential duties. Unless, of course, I missed the part in his presidential oath where he swore to defame his own abuse victims. That's a point that Glenn and I covered in our latest episode of The Legal Breakdown.
Donald Trump was taken to trial, was found liable, and then the Department of Justice said, you know what, we might have to rethink whether those statements that were made by Donald Trump while he was president really were within the scope of his official duties as president, because now a jury has pretty much, with its verdict, indicated they weren't. So the Department of Justice revisited what's called the substitution issue. This is a little criminal law weedy or criminal justice weedy here. But the substitution issue says that when a federal government employee or officer is sued, if that person was acting within the official scope of their duties, then the Department of Justice substitutes itself, DOJ, for the person who's being sued, the government official who's being sued. That person gets taken out of the case, and DOJ is now the party in the case, and they move to dismiss because they say, look, our employee, our officer was acting within the scope of their official duties. That was the position Bill Barr's Department of Justice took, Merrick Garland's Department of Justice took, but they just announced, we are revisiting the substitution issue. DOJ will no longer step in on behalf of Donald Trump, defend what he did. We're taking ourselves out of it. Donald Trump is back in. That's extremely good news for E. Jean Carroll, because now the second case can proceed to trial, and it is a laydown winner for E. Jean Carroll.
And so because the DOJ won't be defending Trump in this upcoming defamation trial, it'll be up to Trump and his team to defend him, which is a tall order considering, as I mentioned earlier, he was already found liable once for defamation, and the comments at issue in this second trial are virtually identical. And of course, the case was recently amended to include comments that Trump made during a CNN town hall, which will not only bolster Carroll's already airtight case against him, but will almost assure that the damages that she's awarded will be even higher.
Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door, so she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President.
After this aired, Carroll's team amended their court filing, saying, quote, "This conduct supports a very substantial punitive damages award in Carroll's favor, both to punish Trump, to deter him from engaging in further defamation, and to deter others from doing the same." And that's the part that Trump doesn't seem to grasp. The whole point of punitive damages that Trump was forced to pay in the initial defamation case was to punish him and deter him from future defamation. And yet, what did Trump do within 24 hours of getting hit with the verdict? He engaged in more defamation. And what did he do again today on Truth Social? More defamation still. Which is why E. Jean Carroll is now basically saying, clearly Donald Trump has learned nothing from those inadequate punitive damages imposed in the first trial of $5 million, so clearly we have to increase that amount. And while we don't know yet what number she'll be awarded in the end, the goal is obviously to reach a point where the punishment is felt enough to actually deter Trump from defaming anyone in the future. But obviously, we're not there yet. And this shouldn't come as a surprise. This is literally how the system works. As violations accumulate, the punishment becomes more severe. If you go to court with no priors, you might get off with a slap on the wrist, for example. But if you go to court with a whole rap sheet, that's taken into account and the consequences are generally worse. Donald Trump is proving to the court in real time that he is not willing to take the law seriously, that he doesn't think it applies to him. And so the onus will then be on the court to determine a punishment that reaches a level that might actually make the guy pay attention. Their job is to keep slapping him with punishments until he finally recognizes that he is not above the law. And it's not just the money, it's also the fact that Trump is making a mockery of the legal system by so quickly and publicly discarding the verdict. E. Jean Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, said, "It makes a mockery of the jury verdict and our justice system if he can keep on repeating the same defamatory statements over and over again." And of course, it isn't just this case where Trump has displayed his disdain for the legal system. There's the fact that he's contending with 2 indictments and 71 charges so far, with 2 more indictments very likely on the way. That is a testament to the fact that that same legal system is now operating to hold him accountable for those very crimes, which, by the way, is a pretty clear testament to how the leader of the self-proclaimed party of law and order actually feels about law and order. So while I do feel bad for what E. Jean Carroll has had to contend with in her legal situation with Donald Trump, at this point, because the guy is incapable of taking responsibility for his own actions, she's basically found a way to monetize the never-ending stream of lies that he seems incapable of not spewing. So if she can make herself $5, $10, $15 million richer every time he opens his mouth, then more power to her. Eventually, Trump will learn that his actions have consequences, but until then, at least one of his many victims will get something out of it. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.